Uh-oh. I just did something to my thing. I'm not talking anymore. There it goes. Hey, Jeff.
Hey there.
Oh, there. There's
Hi, Jeff.
There we go. There we go. Got it now.
Amy, is there any way I can turn the volume up on mine?
Yep. Hold on 1 second.
No, I don't hear real good anyway, so. You see on this, oh, right there. I see. Thank you.
Well, it's staying light later and staying a little warmer. We must be making progress towards spring here, huh?
trying. Hopefully the squirrels don't eat all the bulbs and what have you.
How's everybody doing getting their shots?
First one.
Got the second one. I'm almost there.
I've got the first one, getting ready to get the second one.
Yeah, no, we got ours. Our second one was last Thursday. We go yesterday, so we're almost home free. Felt great.
Of the crash, it nearly took the life of golf great Tiger Woods back in February.
Okay.
It was a simple explanation. He was driving too fast.
Someone's got their mic on. And I'm hearing the news. If you can, there you go. Okay. I think it's 6:30 something, so we'll start. This is the planning board meeting, Southwark Planning Board of April 7th via Zoom. We'll start by taking the roll call to make sure everybody logs into the Zoom situation. So I think we have everybody but Betsy. So I'll call Jeff Minahan.
Here.
Yep, Hirschkoff,
Here.
Manley Gove,
Yeah,
and I'm here. So that's 4. So we have a quorum and we can do business. Well, first item of business is the approval of the previous minutes from March 3rd and March 17. And I'll pull up the March 3rd minutes first. And does anybody have any comments or additions or corrections on the March 3rd minutes?
I move we accept the minutes March 3rd.
I second it.
Moved by Hershey to accept and seconded by Manley. All in favor of accepting the March 3rd minutes, raise your hand. 1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4. Thank you. We're unanimous. Thank you very much. We have the March 17 minutes next. And Amy, it looks like you're all caught up here.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Any comments or questions or additions to the March 17 minutes? They were very complete. I had nothing.
I make a motion, we accept them.
Moved by Manley to accept,
I'll second.
second by Jeff Minahan. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in favor. That's good. No, nobody. So we're good. Okay. I'm gonna make a notation here at the end of our agenda. We had discussion of the 2 marijuana ordinances. There's action happening on that. The town attorney is preparing input on it. It's not finished. There has been action over the last week of 10 days on that. The town council and Perry Ellsworth are dealing with the attorney presently about finalizing his input on a variety of things. And it's important that we have the benefit of all that. So I'm going to postpone the discussion of those marijuana discussion items tonight, because it'll be not productive for us to do that until we are operating with a full deck of knowledge. So I know some people are here for that, but that's what we're going to do. We're not going to take up the marijuana ordinances tonight. We'll do much more productive work on that probably next time, with the benefit of the town attorney's input on various issues. So get that out of the way. I want to make sure that's known.
Now, will the town's attorney be preparing a letter to us?
There are communications in preparation, yes.
Now, the people that are interested at this meeting, will there be a location they can go before the next meeting to review it?
We'll see. I'm not sure what the mechanism is going to be. But at some point it'll be public, but I'm not sure how the sequence goes on that.
Be nice if they could have it before the meeting.
I understand. So, and there's as everybody knows, these are complicated issues, and there's multi-dimensional aspects to it. So we want to move carefully. We got some time on both of them. We want to move carefully and be productive with our time, and do not go off on directions that aren't grounded with all the information that we need. So, okay, with that, is there anybody that wishes to make a statement on one of the items on the agenda or other items that's present? We'll take public input now. Barbara Hopkins has raised her hand.
Hi, Bill. I'm just curious. Did you just find that out today, that the attorney's weighing in on this?
I'd prefer not to say, Barbara, but it was recently that the decision was made to put this off. Anything else?
Okay. People will rearrange their schedules because of the agenda. So I'm just putting that out there, that it inconveniences quite a few people.
Well, it was determined this afternoon that the prudent thing to do would be to not take it up tonight. I'll tell you that. Okay, I apologize for that, but that's the way it goes. From time to time, nothing perfect. Anybody else? I don't see everybody. Is there anybody else waving a hand? I don't think so. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your indulgence on this. Will be more meaningful when we have all the information that we need. All right, so moving on to correspondence. There we have a memo from Joe Roussel regarding the tributary stream determination of that piece that crosses Bennett Lot Road up into the property of the Providential property. And he's determined that it is in fact a tributary stream with some documentation of that. So we'll take that up when we get there. Okay, with that, we have a new piece of business tonight, a new project to review, and that is the MSP Major Site Plan Review 21001, NBD Solar Main, for the project at 15 Old South Road, map 7, lot 11A. I believe this is for sketch plan review, and I think I see Sean Toby there from Hoyle Tanner Associates, HTA. Hi, Sean, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. And I'm going to embarrass Sean just a little bit.
Go for it.
He went to school with my son, so he's a good guy. And he's become a well-known engineer in the region, and that's good. So good to see you, Sean. So
Yes,
Sean
thank
is representing the owner, and if you'd like to make a presentation, that'd be great, Sean.
Yep, yes. So thank you for getting us on the agenda tonight. Also here is oh, go ahead. Oh, sorry, someone's,
Yeah, can everybody be sure that they're muted if they're not talking? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Also, Christian Laranja from NBD Solar, he usually likes to jump on the calls, but he has a conflicting meeting tonight, so he'll probably be available next meeting for some additional questions. Sean Meehan is with NBD Solar. He's on the call as well. So I'll just kind of dive into this project. You know, even though it's sketch plan, we kind of like to do a lot of the homework up front. So when we get into the process, so the plans before you are probably at a much more advanced level than sketch plan, but we wanted to make sure we had all the pieces on the plan and out in front of you to kind of walk through it tonight. So the project itself, it's lot 711A off of Old South Road. It's kind of at the end of a extended gravel driveway. It's tucked kind of out in the middle between Fife's Lane and Old South Road. The total parcel is a little over 30 acres. And we're looking to develop a ground-mounted solar facility on the upland portion. A good majority of the lot is wetlands, but we'll leave those, undisturbed. And with this project, I believe you guys have had another solar project in town, so you're probably familiar with the aspects of how it works, but I can walk through a little bit with this one. They will all be fixed tilt. They'll be attached with ground screws.
Sorry, John, do you have the ability to put a site plan up? Or do you-
Yeah, sure.
That'd be helpful, I think, yeah. You're right, we have had one other approval of several months ago, so we've seen some of the concepts, but site specifically, yeah, thank you very much, that'd be good.
Yeah, so this is just a Google Earth. The red is the approximate boundary, just to get some bearing. This is 236 here, Old South Road, and then Fife's Lane here. This is the existing access that's part of the parcel here coming in off Old South. There's 3-phase out at Old South Road, so that's where we would connect back in. Gravel drive would come into the site. And then this portion in through here would be solar panels. This is existing wet. There's a stream, and then this is emergent marsh in this section. All of this we would leave untouched. So this is flipping to a survey plan. You can see the boundary, the marsh. And then this here would be the proposed solar panels. So each one of these would be the tables. They'd be a 5x5 configuration. And then each panel would be a 550 watt panel. We're looking to use some of the more efficient panels on the market for this one, and it would get it up to a total of 6.5 megawatts. There will be a few small areas of wetland impacts, indirect impacts. So the wetlands would remain, the panels would span over the wetlands. The ground screws would go through, there'd be small impact there, but underneath the panels will all remain grass, mowed twice a year. We're maintaining the 100-foot buffer on the emergent marsh, maintaining the stream buffers. I guess I could jump to, this is just kind of a typical section of this panel mounting system. So you'd have the ground screws. Each table would have 4 screws, and then you would have the 5x5 tables with the panels on a 20-degree fixed tilt. Let's jump back to this one. The inverters, so all the panels would string together. They'd go to the 2 inverters here at the entrance, and then they would just go back through the existing, these poles would just be upgraded to 3-phase back to Old South Road where they'd connect into the grid. And then, around the site, it would be a chain link fence. It would be set up 6 inches for wildlife passage. And then we'd propose a series of spruce trees for screening up along the front of the project to kind of screen from any direct abutters. And if there's any situations where there is a concern of site, working with NBD Solar, they've been very good with any abutters and working through, adding additional planting, screening, any concerns in that aspect. They're very accommodating. I think I'd open it up to any questions if there's some questions on, specifics of the design or the site itself, and I'd be more than happy to walk through those.
Sean, can you go back to the Google Earth view, please?
Yes.
So other than the setbacks to the wetlands and the stream, are there any other setbacks proposed for between, actually, there's, Could you walk us through where the direct abutters are? I guess that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so our thought was when you come in here, there's a house located right here. It doesn't show as well on that plan, but you can see there's a house right here.
Yeah,
That's lot 1940. So we've lined all of this with 7 to 8 foot spruce trees, 43 spruce trees around the entrance. So looking down this road as well as from here, that would screen in that direction. Kind of walking around around the rest of the project. I mean, you have a pretty good existing tree buffer that will remain. You know, all of these woods here, this stream will remain. This whole section will remain, and this whole section here. So I think it would be this one abutter that would probably have the biggest line of sight.
does that abutter use the same driveway?
Correct, yes. It's a common driveway owned by this parcel, by this subject parcel, and then there's easements for the lots that come off of it.
So they would be spruce trees?
Yeah, I mean, we're open to different options, but we found, you know, a good 7 to 8 foot tall spruce tree grows pretty quickly and is pretty hardy, you know, to the weather in New England.
I see. How many feet per center?
We're going about, I'd have to measure it exactly, but about 12 feet per center to center, 10 to 12 feet. So they'll fill in pretty quickly and grow up pretty tall. And we can tighten that up if there's any concern.
The fence is a standard chain link fence?
Yes, yep.
6
No
foot high?
barbed wire, nothing. It's more of just deterrent to keep people out from damaging the panels.
Is that a 5 or a 6 foot fence?
It'd be a 7 is the
7,
typical.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And is the interconnection agreement established or is that in process?
It's in process right now.
But the expectation is that a direct connection to the existing lines on Oakfields Road will work?
Yeah. Yeah, and in most of the situations they've been doing other projects in Maine. There's never usually a case where they won't accept the application. It'll just be a matter of the upgrade. You know, they'll come back and say, okay, we need 6 upgrades and it's going to cost this amount. But in most cases, there hasn't been one that they've run into yet where it's deterred the project. So they're pretty confident that it'll, you know, it'd be a reasonable fee for the project.
So it's because I think it's it's quite some more power than the one that we dealt with up for Junction Road. How does the total production compare to other ones that this company's put together or in general? Is this a big
Yeah.
project or a?
So what they do is they measure, in the solar world, they kind of measure it by DC. So they like to go 1.5 times with the DC. And the max you're allowed at the poles are 5 megawatts AC. And so this one's a little bit smaller. They're at 6.5. And then it gets inverted down to the 5 megawatts.
So 5
most of
megawatts is the limit?
At the pole, that's the interconnection. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so this
So
is,
by-
this,
oh, sorry.
so is this maximized to that, sounds like?
For most of the day, they like to do 7.5 megawatts DC. So it's always guaranteeing that when it gets inverted, that meter's spinning even at, 9 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon. With the oversized DC field, it keeps that meter spinning up closer to the 5 megawatts. So most of the ones they've done are 7.5 DC, but it all goes into the grid at 5 AC, if that makes sense.
I'm dominating the questions. Any other planning board members, please?
Yeah, I have a question. What percentage of the actual site itself is wetlands? Leaving aside the marsh?
Yeah, I'd say probably 30%, about a third of the site will be
Third site.
wetlands.
And how much are you impacting? Whether you call it direct or indirect impact, I don't, whatever.
We have just over 13,000 square feet.
What percentage of that is?
I'd have
Right.
to add, I could add up the whole amount. I could get you, I just don't want to spew a number that's wrong. but I
No,
could
that's
get you-
fine. That's fine.
Get you a rough estimate. I'd say probably 10 acres of it is wet. So Let's see.
Half
so
an
it's
acre,
like-
yeah.
What is it? Did you say it was a 30-acre site? Is it?
Correct.
10 or wet? Okay.
Yeah,
And you got a little less than a half an acre, or
yeah, we're at 13,000, so.
that's less, quarter an acre. Can you describe the permitting process with DEP regarding wetlands and other things?
Yep, so for this project, the total occupied area will be under 20 acres. Will be under an acre of impervious, so we'll fall into the permit by rule stormwater category. So with the vegetative buffers, the grass in between the panels, that's self-treating. The road is so minimal that that'll just sheet flow into the grass as well. And then as far as the wetlands, that'll fall into a tier 1. We'll try to keep, we'll make sure that's under 15,000, keep it into the tier 1 category for the indirect impacts. And then we've confirmed with Army Corps that the ground screws and fence post, if they're driven or screwed into the ground, won't count as fill in their jurisdiction. So we'll be exempt from Army Corps.
So from a stormwater perspective, DEP considers the panels, if they're separated by a certain distance with grassy vegetation, not to be impervious. This is judged to be the rain falls and infiltrates on or runs off of the vegetation under the panels. Is that right?
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
And we're restricted, the field itself, the grass that grows under the panels, you cannot mow that more than twice a year or it's considered developed. So they, a good kind of 6-8 inch grass is ideal. It'll be kind of brush hogged twice a year.
And okay, and so that yeah, that keeps woody growth down, obviously, but it has a vegetative thing to allow the infiltrate the precipitation to have a chance to infiltrate. If you go back to the cross section of the panels themselves.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, so they mow between the panels? I see that. Is there an attempt to mow beneath the panels?
Yeah, they'll try to get as much as they can. And then any areas that they can't get, they'll hit with a weed whacker.
Okay.
And all these, another note too, is there's no pesticides or herbicide, that they use for vegetation control. And they also don't wash the panels. There's no chemicals, or in the Northeast, there's enough rain that there's not enough dust. So they don't wash or they don't spray any chemicals on site.
So I'm going to follow that one up. Solar panels degrade though over about 20 years, right?
Mhm.
And when they degrade, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean the surface of it begins to flake away?
No, it's more the internal elements with the silicon and the electrons. It just starts to be less efficient. Usually after around year 2021, they're about 80% of the efficiency. So if it was originally putting out 500 watts, the wattage starts to drop over time. And by year 25, they'll usually pull the panels and they'll either replace them with a new set of panels, or if there's something more efficient, they'll pull everything out. But the racking system will last for 40 to 50 years. So you can usually get at least 2 life cycles out of, 2 panel cycles with the racking system.
Is the other project we dealt with, they had a lease arrangement on the land with the landowner.
Mhm.
What's the arrangement here? Is it the owner of the land, or is there a leasing arrangement, or what?
This one would be a purchase and sale. So after all the permitting, MBD Solar would buy the land, own the land, and manage it that way.
So the PSA is in our packet, Bill, in case you didn't see it.
Yeah, well, I just wanted.
Hey, Sean, can you go
Yep.
back to your site plan for 1 second?
Yep.
Could you back out a little bit? There we go. Can you back out? No, the other one that shows the road. It shows the roads.
Oh, the Google Earth one?
Is that, yeah, okay, Google
This
Earth,
one,
that's
yeah.
fine. So am I right? Is that the big marsh that's where 91 spins off from
Yeah,
236?
Correct. Yeah, that's 91 York Woods Road
Right.
right here. Yeah.
So is there any chance we could ask you to screen across that marsh from the road? Like there?
Yeah.
Because I love looking at that marsh when I drive by. I don't think it's just me. It's just, you know, you still feel like you're living a little bit in farmland in the country. And I drove by on Route 236 the other way toward Berwick. There's a huge solar farm that's gone in there, and I was sort of shocked to see it. So
Okay,
I just sort of rather not see it if I don't have to. So.
yeah, no, and I don't think that will be a problem at all.
And
you know,
my
there'll be-
suggestion is arborvitae.
Okay,
Most fill-in screenings I know do really well, and there's different. I know there's a lot of different types of arborvitae. So just check
Mhm.
check with your landscape people.
okay, yeah, we
But-
can definitely switch that up. Make that, and these existing trees here will stay.
They
So
will.
maybe-
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that'll do it.
You know, if we do a site walk through the process, you know, we can go through and look, see how bad it, you know, how much you'd actually see, and then we'd be more than happy to fill that in so that. it
Yeah,
can-
so you're saying that you got a 100-foot plus setback from the edge of the wetland, so that all that forest would stay for 100 feet.
Correct, yeah. And
Oh,
we're
that's
actually
probably
100,
fine.
we're 150 feet to the tree cutting, so there's an even greater buffer there too.
Right.
So Sean, in our ordinance, we have a little bit of a glitch where people that abut it don't get notified until near the end. Would you mind notifying them through regular mail that this process is going on? That's not an official notification, just a notification, so come the end of it, they don't feel cheated.
Yeah, no, I think we'd be more than happy to do that, and even if there's anybody on the call tonight or next meeting that has questions, I mean, even if it's not an official public hearing, we're,
Yeah, what Manley's describing is our policy over the last year or so has been that the applicant
oh,
notify,
okay,
the town has, when this gets to a public hearing, that's another matter. But there's a notification of all the abutters by the applicant, just making them aware that this is in the process.
okay, yep, we can do that.
That would-
And like
that
I
would-
said, once, you know, when Christian's back, if he's on, Christian from NBD Solar, the owner, he'd be more than happy to meet with any butters, you know, if there's any concerns and walk through whatever the issue is and try to address it.
How many, I was curious, how many installations do they have up and running now?
He has done a bunch of them in Massachusetts that are up and running. There's one that we've done with him in Waterboro that's halfway through construction. And then in addition to that, there's 12 others in York County that we're working on with him.
Really? Okay.
So he's very familiar with the process, the design, construction. You know, he'll work right in the field with the guys, putting them in the ground. And so he's pretty hands-on through the whole process.
Just so it's out there, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, as you described. This is pretty far along for a sketch plan, but that's okay.
Yep.
How often is the site access for maintenance and so forth?
Typically, it's about twice a month. So every 2 weeks, someone will just come in, utility truck, drive through, make sure there's, you know, no damage or, you know, someone cutting through the fence or something, and then they head off.
Yeah.
Most of it's all remote monitored. So if there's sections of panels that go out, you know, they get a signal right away through the remote system that something's wrong. But very, very infrequently is there traffic going through the site.
Someone had noted, I think it's probably a good idea, that when you're doing the informal notification to abutters, we or you would want to let the Conservation Commission know about this project, because there will be wetlands impacts.
Okay.
Another question, I think I know the answer, but what are the noise impacts, if any, from this thing?
Yeah, so typically the only thing that might make noise are the inverters. Sometimes when there's full output and they're really spinning with electricity, there's a little bit of a humming noise. So we've tried to kind of pull those away and tuck them, you know, away from any of the abutters. And, you know, we could add additional screening around that if there's any issues, but usually by the time the sound gets to the property line, it's below the decibels of the ordinance.
We'll probably want you to do some documentation of that as the project proceeds.
Okay, yeah, we've done that on others. We have data from the manufacturer of the decibels, you know, 1 foot away from the inverters, and then we can calculate it back towards the property line.
Yeah,
So we
because
could
I mean,
document that.
there are, the entry of this is close by to a number of people.
Mhm.
And that's a potential concern.
Yeah, we can
Don.
run the calcs on that and then move it if we have to.
Sean, what official action, if any, are you looking for us to do this evening?
I mean, I think if anything, we're just kind of looking for some comments and feedback, and then we'll kind of turn around another set of plans and,
Yeah.
and keep the process moving.
Yeah, just for, yes, this is a sketch plan review, and it's to get our impressions, any initial comments. It's not anywhere near our final review. If we endorse the sketch plan, they would come back with a formal application. I think that's the way the process works. And then the process starts in earnest. where
Well,
we-
I've seen enough. I think that we could endorse the plan so they could get started.
I would ask, yeah, I don't disagree, but I would ask David Galbraith, who prepared a memo and review of this, to offer any comments that he has this time.
Yeah, thank you. Sean did give a good overview, so I'm not going to go into that. I did have some questions. And as you know, on this one, I did provide the board sort of a list of, potential things that we may want to discuss. But there was a few little things here and there, but one of the things I wanted to talk about is I didn't know if the ground screws had heaving in them. Is that Sean, when you do a ground screw, is that subject to heaving, or are you getting them below that frost line? Or?
Yeah, typically the
Thank you.
screws themselves they're 6 foot and they're threaded, so there's usually not any issues with heaving. They usually get down further enough, they really anchor in. And they'll usually do a pull test to make sure they're down and they have enough, pull pressure so that they're very solid. But we haven't seen any issues with heaving.
Okay. I also was I was wondering, is there any kind of regulation about having any kind of screening slats or something over the fencing? Because I noticed if you look at the cross section of the panels and what the fence is, you've got a 7-foot fence, and I know that the install, I believe, was 7 and 9 feet at install for the landscaping along the closest abutter there. So is there some way that I thought, because there's in some places just a single row of proposed trees, and right at the entrance there, I don't think towards the back is necessary.
Mhm.
You screen that, but right up near those abutters. One of the other questions that I had, and I listed it in my report, is the amount of buffering for the most part appears to be on abutting property. Buffers is on the abutting property owners, not on this property,
Mhm.
with the exception of the one sort of corner.
Yeah.
So if those got cut down, you're going to see potentially you could see a 7-foot fence sitting out there in the backside. And so I don't know if that can be addressed, or if the board's concerned about them. Also in the application, I thought it said that they were going to keep the stumps of the trees in place.
Yeah, in the wetland areas, so anywhere that there's panels going over the wetlands, we would just cut everything flush so that it's not getting in there and grubbing it and disturbing it. And then
Okay.
that counts as an indirect impact.
Okay.
What, can I ask, I'm sorry, I just want to understand this a little better. What's the limit on the amount of indirect impact you're allowed to have on wetlands?
So whether it's indirect or direct, you can, ultimately you can go up as high as you want, but if you keep it under 15,000 square feet, that's kind of the cutoff of when you get into a larger permit versus that puts you into a tier 3, which is a larger permit. And then
Is
you
that,
start to
is
have
that particular,
compensation.
is that particular to solar farms?
Just development in general. So
Well, you're
typically
not,
anything over.
you're not allowed to impact all of the wetlands you have on a piece of property usually. I mean, you're allowed a certain percentage. I'm under the impression you're allowed, right?
Correct, yeah, within reason, yeah.
And I think when Sean, when you were originally talking about how much wetlands were impacted, I think you included the total amount of the wetlands, because I think you said it was 10 acres that you're going to impact. Whereas,
Oh, no, I was.
but then you said 13,000 square feet, which is like what, a quarter of an acre, let's say.
Yeah, I
So
was
that,
just.
that 10 acres is not, there is a whole bunch of wetlands that are being preserved, but this one is a 13,000 square foot basically a couple of threads that are in there.
Yeah, the main, I was trying to estimate the bulk of, I can come back with the exact number of on-site wetlands and the percentage that would be impacted. I was trying to just guess that there's about 10 acres on site.
Yeah, I didn't want the board to think that you were impacting 10 of the 30 acres, and
Yeah,
I got it. I got that impression that maybe so.
okay, yeah, that might be a long process strategy.
Yeah, other than that, I think some of the other things, at least that we've talked about with other, or that I've dealt with other applicants within the state, the items that I thought we should at least talk about real quick was notification, which we've already addressed. I would recommend a site walk be scheduled as soon as possible, and I think it'd be helpful, especially with the abutting properties. Once you're in there, and they're not going to see it. But I know that our code enforcement officer happens to be our fire chief also. So I just put a standard comment in there that they want to see a Knox key box on there, pretty
Okay.
easy, a security plan. Again, I had a similar question. I think Bill asked about have you have an approval letter yet? But I know sometimes they'll accept your application at CMP.
Yeah.
I thought what also might be helpful is some photographs. Both you showed us the aerial today, but maybe some existing pictures of surrounding property owners, just for those who will look at it online only. And I brought up the issue of addressing. I know it's 15B.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the formal address. We'd be, happy to talk. I think there's A and B there already, or A is already there, so we assumed it was B, but.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Joe also is our addressing officer.
Okay.
And so as soon as Joe comes back, I'll check with him on that and try and get back to you. And the only thing I had an issue with is I believe it's a conforming lot when it was created, as their house that are also providing access to them, but it's just one thing that I'll go back. So that's on our end. And okay. I wanted to know about sort of, there's pre-construction, construction, and then post-construction of the roadway. That might be best discussed on site, but apart from that, it's a very complete application, and really it was just some suggested items. When we would come back to the project next, I'd probably start developing a list of conditions or suggested conditions for the board, which would be all bonding and inspection and things like that. But apart from that.
So just to back up a little bit, this is proposed as a, and I forgot what the public utilities use. What's the use called?
Public utilities. That's right.
Yeah, we call it a public utility, and we had Joe and I had some conversations before, and let me pull out my head. And he also originally started looking at it as essential services. But because essential services, hold on, I'll find it right in my land use code here. Essential services would be allowed by right, but when we talked about utilities and the review that the town indicated it wanted under public utilities, so it just gives it that higher level of review with the board rather than just being a quick, it does require site plan, but.
Yeah. And
how many residential units are on that road?
3, I believe.
Yeah, I'll make.
I think it's 3 or 4.
Nope, 2.
There's 3. Well, yeah, 2 that have an access off of that road.
Yeah,
The other
there's
one
like
comes
5
off Old
drives.
Okay. And will yours be the last thing on the road?
Yes.
Yeah. And before you get to your gate, do you have a turnaround there?
I don't believe there's not a dedicated turnaround outside of the gate. We could add that in there so that if someone does go down the road and is not for the solar, they could turn around.
I think it would be nice what ends up happening if you live on one of those roads. If you don't have it, people turn around in your yard, and it's after a while it gets to be old.
Yeah, we can add that in.
And it'd be a private road, so we would likely want to see some documentation about what kind of maintenance it's going to be. And I know Joe will ask for us to make sure that a condition of approval is going to be maintaining that, clear of debris and ice and snow, what have you. But that's sort of, for everyone's best interest, so.
Yep.
I got
I had a
one,
couple things, Bill, too.
yeah, please.
I just had a couple of questions. Dave, I think you said on your report, this falls within the shoreland district? Our shoreland district, is that correct?
Let's see, because you've got, there is a setback that is being shown on the plan in the bottom right, and, hold on. Sorry, I've got my plan set here.
And I just want to state telephone number 603-834-3205. Please mute. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're talking about the shoreland district overlay, just how impactful that is. While Dave's doing that, I just want to also ask too, there'll be some cutting of trees, basically cutting all these trees down, correct, Sean? Because there's currently trees up there right now, right?
Yeah, the site itself has been logged within the last couple of years. So a good majority of the trees in the solar field area, the mature growth has been taken out. There will be some cutting along the way, but a majority of all that cutting will be outside the 100-foot shoreline buffer, as well as the stream buffer that runs there through the south.
Okay, I took a spin by there, but I didn't know exactly, kind of hunting and pecking. I didn't know where I was looking, so.
We had a
Sure.
couple of years ago, this planning board approved a logging operation on this property, so it's been
Okay.
logged recently. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sean, could you bring up plan C3? It's a site and erosion control plan
Yep.
for everyone to see. And then if, where we're talking about the shoreland zone, it's here I am trying to move my mouse to like,
Yeah, so
that's
this
what I want to
line-
point at.
this line here is the edge of the marsh. This is the 100-foot shoreline buffer, kind of coming around there. So
Okay,
you can see this is our clearing. This is our clearing. We've got 150 feet before we get into that 100-foot buffer.
okay, that's what I just wasn't understanding, I guess, because I saw that it was in the report and I'm thinking, oh goodness, where is all this?
Yeah. No, we
No.
stay away from that portion there.
Okay, great. That was really the question. I don't know too much about I saw in your report, Sean, which again, I thought it was impressive looking through it from the get-go with all the stuff, and I appreciate the organization of it. My question about like DEP and how they look at things, where it sounds like a lot of the large growth is not there, it's smaller stuff now. Do they look at, if the trees are gone and not sucking up that water, do they look at that and report to you or have that available to see what the runoff would be filling the marsh now because it's not being sucked up by the trees? I don't know if you have that answer. I just don't know if it's something we should be looking at.
Yeah, and it's a fairly minimal change because once you get out, into the woods, it's a lot of mature growth. It's mostly leaves. There's not a lot of roots, not a lot of grass. So the runoff curve with that, compared to a dense, grass kind of field, that's going to slow down and suck up a lot of that water. So DEP in a permit by rule situation like this, they're not concerned about flooding or runoff rate control because it's very similar. There's very little impervious cover out there. They almost just kind of see it as a field.
Sure. Okay. No, thank you.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question that Jeff was heading to. Could you just, you had a section in there on DEP, and we covered that. you also had a section in there on the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and to describe what concerns are out there regarding wildlife and endangered species and turtles and birds and so forth, and how that needs to play out as this project goes forward?
Yep. So with this project, we submit the site location and the plans to IF&W, which is Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. They review this based on potential hits in the area for endangered species. And so they came back to us and said there's a possibility of cottontail rabbit in the area, as well as blandings and spotted turtles in the area based on documentation that they have. So we actually, the wetland scientists went out there back when there was snow cover with IF&W staff, walked the site looking for cottontail. They actually looked for the droppings and they didn't find any on this site. So IF&W has cleared any potential impacts for cottontail. And actually in this situation with converting it from forest to more of a field meadow, scrub shrub, it's actually going to be a better habitat and actually maybe draw more cottontail to the area. The second part with the turtles, in the emergent marsh section, there's documented turtles in that area. And so what we're doing now is working with IF&W to develop a strategy, whether we restrict construction to winter months when the turtles aren't present, or creating certain buffers to the project. So whatever we do going forward, we'll have a coordinated, calculated plan with IF&W where they sign off on what we're doing. Part of the reason with that extra 50-foot buffer in the shoreline is to create more area for the turtles. Having the fence up 6 inches is also another reason. The turtles can actually cross under that and go throughout the solar field. So that's the process there. We won't be able to do anything until there's a final sign off from IF&W. So we're working through that process right now.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the things that the other solar field that we worked with, they also in their plan, they were talking about reseeding with native grasses and whatnot. I don't know if that's a possibility or if that was if I just missed that or not. I know Conservation Commission be concerned about that as well.
Yeah, we typically like to do a native seed mix, something that's a real thick but low growing, just so it's not shooting up real quick over the panels.
Right.
But we'd be more than happy to work with the Conservation Commission to get a mix that satisfies everybody.
Yeah. I think this is great. And now, and we're, again, what's needed of us tonight is to we provide these comments that Sean and the developer can take back and as they prepare a preliminary plan for formal submittal. We, as David laid out in his memo, we can concur with the sketch plan. Very seldom, sometimes sketch plans come in and we say, take this away. We can't deal with this. That's not where we're at on this. And we got just some comments, but there's going to be plenty of opportunity for continuing to work with these guys on finalization of any of these and perhaps other topics. So I think we need, I don't think, well, it can be a vote. We could take a vote as to whether we accept this sketch plan for further development.
I make that motion.
Manley makes that motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Jeff. Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. I'm looking around. I see 4 hands go up, so it's unanimous. And so confirm with Joe and David, Sean, what happens next. I think I may be wrong on this, but I think you actually make a formal application now after the sketch plan.
Okay.
And then the notifications to abutters, and it's been suggested the Conservation Commission be part of that. And then we'll dig into this in earnest when you're ready with the next submittal.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Thank you for everyone's time, and we welcome the comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Good evening.
Right.
Who made the second on that? Manley made the motion.
I did.
Jeff Minahan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let me get the agenda back here. All right, so we go to the first business of old business, which is the this 5-lot subdivision on Bennett Lot Road, MSP 20009. I'll let Brian Nielsen explain where we're at. We've last time we dove well into the resource protection issue, the question. It was determined that the water course coming up into the property is not a Gunkwit Brook and is not associated with the resource protection zone. And that was a huge issue prior to that determination. And we had Mike Morris and others dealing with that. So that's where we're at. We return to the question of the conventional subdivision for comparison to a cluster subdivision. And I think Attar has developed a slightly revised conventional subdivision plan that I think they want to go through, and we can discuss that and see if we can come to full circle of establishing the number of developable lots that could be transferred to a cluster. Is that about right?
I'm glad you said it because that was much more eloquent than what I would have said.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would add to that, David, at this point, David Galbraith? Okay. Okay, Brian, why don't you present your information?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my name is Brian Nielsen. I'm from Attar Engineering. I'm here representing Providential Equity Development and their 5-lot subdivision project on Bennett Lot Road. So Mr. Chair said, so we've determined that the stream is no longer a Gunkwit Brook. Additionally, walked the site with the code officer, Joe Russell, and he provided a letter, which I believe we have. You brought it into.
Yep.
Yeah, before this. So that is considered a tributary stream. So there is still a 25-foot setback, which we meet for any structures or disturbance. So kind of digging into the conventional. So this is the one that you all have. I received a letter from planner David Galbraith, and he encouraged me to show the road frontages on there. So this is a very similar plan. I've just kind of typed out just for everyone's convenience. Oh, the road frontage. I'm not sharing my screen, am I? So let me do that.
Okay, good.
Too many Zoom meetings. Can everybody see the plan?
A part of it.
All right, excellent. So this is the overall conventional plan. So we've added more specific wetland impacts. Basically took the right of way as a wetland impact, assuming the correct road width plus some additional grading on either side. I can go into that afterwards, but that totaled up to 27,726 square feet of wetland impact, and that included the need for driveways and roads.
So you've shown on this the changes from last time. The important change is that the tributary stream is not the Gunkwit Brook with negotiable, disputable setbacks.
Right.
So that's off the table. You've modified the road width based on the 6 houses, not the 5 houses. So that increases the width a little bit. You've shown preliminary conceptual locations of the house lots on each lot to demonstrate, I guess, their feasibility.
Correct.
What other changes are on here, Brian?
So we added each driveway, and so we added a split driveway for lots 2 and 3 in order to minimize potential wetland impacts should the conventional be approved.
Yeah.
Or should that be the route that the developer chooses to take?
Okay. Okay, so then you got your revised wetlands impact of what, 27,000 square feet?
Correct.
Could you describe how that gets permitted at the DEP level?
Yes, sir. So when you're above 15,000 square feet of wetland impact, you go into what's called a tier 2 review criteria. So there are some major phases of that. So it's basically you're in the range of 15,000 to 1 acre of impact. So we're kind of right in the middle of that. So first thing you would need to do is a feasibility study as to what other ways you could do to reduce the wetland impact in there. You need to do a functional assessment. So we would work with a PE and a wetland scientist to kind of make sure that we're not interrupting any major drainage paths or doing any other, I want to say like destroying any large, subcatchments. And then you would move into compensation. There's a few ways to do compensation. We've mentioned it before. You can do what's called an in lieu fee, where you pay per square foot of wetland impact, or you could choose to dedicate some land to be undeveloped in perpetuity as kind of a trade.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and that would go through DEP as well as the Army Corps.
Right, and local review as well.
That's
Okay. Anything else you want to highlight on the conventional subdivision layout?
Sure. So kind of going through all of the street frontages. So the minimum street frontage required is 300 feet in this area. So I just want to point out that we've got greater than 300 feet for each of the lots. On this lot where it's reduced on curves and cul-de-sacs, you're allowed to drop it down to 60 feet as long as where you're building your home meets the normal road frontage width. So as long as it expands to 300 feet by the time you are building the home, you're in the clear. And that's on table A in the zoning, or sorry, table B in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, good. All right. So it seems to me we've come kind of full circle. And we, several months ago, we had this concept and we had a cluster concept. And the planning board has the ability to dictate one or the other. And at the time that we did it, and we reevaluated the lots here to make sure that we're comfortable with that and removed several issues from consideration on that, most notably the resource protection setback, which doesn't apply here. I think we need to acknowledge whether we believe the conventional subdivision as laid out supports 5 lots or not. And then we need to revisit our preference as to why, if it is preferential, to do a lesser environmental impact project, transferring those 5 lots to the cluster off of Bennett Lot Road. So I'd suggest we discuss and determine whether or not we're satisfied that the conventional subdivision layout supports 5 lots.
I definitely am.
I'm sorry, Manley?
I definitely see that it supports 5 lots, and I'm ready to make a motion to that effect when you're ready.
Okay. Any other comments from the board members?
I'd like to put out again that I would really be more comfortable if it had some independent review. So I feel like it's complicated. Brian, it's not like I don't trust you entirely, but I just would like to see someone take a look at it with, an independent eyes and ensure that it really meets the requirements the way it should.
From my viewpoint, we've been having a lot of independent review on the different issues that we've been going along. I really enjoyed the gentleman that Joe hired to look into the river and to discuss some of those issues. I felt he was quite knowledgeable, and
I think we can still, and we were planning to, require a third-party engineering review of the cluster subdivision if we get there, in terms of drainage and other conformance with the ordinance. I think for the conventional, this is more detail than we've had for the comparison, but it's been necessary. So for purposes of establishing the number of lots that can be transferred to a cluster, I'm satisfied that with Mike Morse's work and others that we're on solid ground, but
I'm in full agreement with what the chairman just said.
Jeff, do you have any comments?
Is he here still?
Sorry about that. I muted. I was flipping through papers. Just the conventional, it would actually have at least 7 houses on the whole throughway, correct? Right, because it goes from road to road.
Correct.
And I'm not 100% clear, and I don't have it right in front of me. Does that impact? I think that when going from 5 to 6, change the road width, right, Brian? Or
No,
something
sir,
like that?
I will. I've got this ordinance section memorized by now, so don't worry about it. I'll bring it right up.
I just wanted to make sure, because we've
Yes,
been all talking about it, all the different, we talk about the 5, but we know this other one is on there, and then the conventional throws in the other ones off the top of it. So I
Right.
just wanted to ask.
So between like 5 and 6, I believe, is right at the threshold.
Yep.
And we've kind of made it nearly a moot point because we took the entire right of way width, which is 50 feet, for wetland impact, because your construction, as much as we'd like, you can't end right where the sidewalk ends. You've got to grade down to the road. You've got to facilitate drainage. So instead of doing just the 22 plus the 3-foot shoulder plus the 5-foot sidewalk, we did the entire 50 feet. So it covers that, and very likely even up to the next level higher if we chose to go there. Though I think
by assuming the whole 50 foot was the wetlands impact, you accommodated the wider road that would have been required, certainly.
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
we did. So I've got it here. It's a local residential, so it's actually by trips per day. So 51 to 250 average daily trips. So that's kind of the
So
range.
the road width would have had to go to 22 from 16, but the difference between 22 and 16, they say is being taken up by assuming the entire right of way of 50 feet is a wetlands impact, which is a conservative assumption.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just, I think, I think we've gone through a lot with this project, and again, Brian, I appreciate your work that you've done, and I think it's the section of town that I'm concerned about. Honestly, is just a matter of where just protecting that area, and so that's my real hang up, as I mentioned before. But I think as far as right now, the plans, I think everything looks fairly decent. I agree with Hershey as far as making sure everything is all kosher on all the specifics that I'm not a master on, and
I think if we get to the cluster, we can require and request as much review of that as is reasonable, and I think we were headed in that direction. So let's go to Manley's motion to accept the conventional layout, 5 new lots associated with that. Is there a second to that motion?
that we're accepting that it's possible.
Yes.
Right. I'll make a second to that.
So moved by Manley, seconded by Jeff. Any more discussion? I'll take a roll call vote. Manley,
I'm in favor.
Jeff,
Aye.
Hershey,
No,
and I'm a yes. So that's 3-1. Okay. So that gets us to, we move to the cluster subdivision, and let me review what our thinking was at the time. Is that because the road is much longer for the conventional subdivision, If you leave it up there, Brian, that'd be great for now. And that the conventional subdivision is one way to do this. We've been around the barn on that a number of times. The cluster subdivision has significantly less roadway. And even though it's not this is not a one-way roadway, it's a connecting road, which creates other issues with connecting roads if you ever got into that. And significantly less wetlands impact with a cluster. We would go from 27,000 square feet. What's the approximate impact of the cluster wetlands wise?
1,353 square feet.
So we go from 27,000, yes,
Correct.
to 1,300. So it's by a factor of whatever that is, it's a huge amount. So for the benefits of significantly less environmental impact, the cluster ordinance allows us to allow the development of the same number of lots, but smaller, on a layout with certain accommodations that limit the environmental impact and the development footprint of the project. And I think that's what that's why we did it. We didn't do it for the convenience of the developer. We didn't do it to save them money. We did it because it's a better and least disruptive project by doing it in this way. And that needed to include a small waiver of the roadway length. So I want to make it clear for the record that the going to the cluster was not done for the benefit of the developer. It was done because it's more appropriate and has less environmental impacts to the region.
So I still feel the same, that this is the better way to go, the cluster, and I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
That we adopt the cluster concept. Is that right, Manley?
Yes, it's just redoing what we've already done.
Okay. I'll ask for a second for that motion.
Not able to at this time.
Well, we've accepted the conventional. And if we
Bill, can I ask a question? Is reading the ordinance in terms of allowing a cluster or not allowing a cluster, am I right that it seems like it's somewhat discretionary? Like there's no.
Yeah,
what?
it is discretionary to meet the environmental objectives of a cluster. So if we don't allow a cluster, then they can proceed with a conventional. I don't think people want that.
I'm not clear if that's true, actually. I seem to recall reading somewhere from at least some of the abutters that they actually prefer a conventional plan. And I would love to hear from them if that's true.
Well, we that's fine, but we have to do business. We're at a point, we're going to go back to the public for other comment, but it's a question of what we feel as a board is a less disruptive and more environmentally soft footprint.
So unfortunately, the way I see it, because we don't have alternates and because one of our members are missing, we only, I don't know how it would go with 2 to 2. It seems like it would fail if we go that way. So I think we need to put off the vote until we have a full board. What do you think, Bill?
Well, I don't think it's the intent of the first decision that we made that this become a conventional subdivision. Maybe it is. If we don't have a second, I could do a second, but it looks like we're lined up for a 2 to 2 vote. Which,
Bill?
Yep.
Bill, can I, a question here? With reviewing a cluster, so right now that the vote is that the applicant can do a conventional subdivision, and that was sort of, so that motion was made and passed. And the cluster concept, we're not looking at an approval of the cluster. We just sort of want to give the direction
Right. that's
to the
correct.
applicant of going towards the cluster.
That's
right?
correct. And
Okay.
if we do that, then the full review of the cluster subdivision can proceed. And there's a lot of it that needs to proceed. It doesn't say that we've approved every element of the cluster. It says that the development we prefer it to go in that direction.
Well,
Right.
but that's a bit of a commitment to make. I mean, let's face it, if we voted to go down the road toward a cluster, we'd be sort of stuck on that road. And I'm just not sure that's the road I want to go down.
So you'd rather have a conventional with the additional wetlands impact?
I actually think I would. And I'm not really clear that the environmental impact would be worse, to tell you the truth. And I'm not sure also, I feel like it's supported by the neighborhood. And since we have discretion around this, I think we should exercise it, I guess. So I think actually spreading things out. And also, this idea that we maintain some amount of open space, I think is somewhat disingenuous. I mean, I don't really see who uses the open space and what it looks like and who stewards it. There's no plan for that. It's not like we get like several acres in one big space that becomes some kind of public park or usable by other people. I just, it's like a little here and a little there. And so, I'm not really that clear. And it's not like I'm saying no, I feel like I need more input somewhere along the way for this. So.
Let me,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Brian, put up the conventional and put up the, we're not going to resolve this tonight, but I want to make a point.
Come on.
And put up the conventional first. Okay, you see where the lots are?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Now put up the cluster. They're in the same spot. We're not moving houses substantially. We're just not building another 1,000 foot of road. That's how I see it.
We also need to destroy a vernal pool if we did the conventional, which has endangered species in it.
So the way I look at it is that the houses and the lot developments are going where they would be in the conventional, but we end up with a lot less, and the lot supports that.
Can I ask Brian, are we allowed to destroy a vernal pool? Are you allowed to go
can,
through
but
it?
it's very, very frowned upon, not just for moral reasons, but it's not a, we can permit it. We've done it before. We don't like to.
So I don't know what the advantages would be to go to conventional with respect to the project, but that's my opinion.
So
Mr. Chair,
can
if
we,
I'm sorry, Manley.
is it all right to speak?
Please.
So because we don't have a full board, can we still move to a public hearing and?
No.
No.
We can table the question about the cluster decision. We've made a decision on the conventional. We can table the decision on the cluster preference until we have a full board. I'm fine with that.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yep.
So if this was the second meeting and we needed to come back with information on the cluster or adjustments or peer review, I completely understand. But as David has noted in his memo, this is meeting number 7. And I don't want to go this route, but a motion was passed to accept the cluster concept 5-0 back in December. I haven't pushed that because I understand that there's been a huge amount of abutter pressure and abutter complaints, all of which I believe are valid. We had valid reasons to look over a thing and adjust it. But we were encouraged back in December to continue this cluster design. Here we are 7 meetings later, understanding that I need to do some more due diligence on my part.
Yeah.
But pushing this out another month without specific clear direction as to why we're not going there.
Yeah.
it-
And
I'm confused. I don't know what to do.
I believe what we did in the course of the 7 meetings, you know, it was to reevaluate the validity of the conventional subdivision based on, in my view, the biggest question, which was a resource protection question, as to whether the resource protection setbacks wiped out a couple or 3 of these lots.
Right.
And so and on that basis, I recommended that we reevaluate the conventional subdivision based on our better understanding of that question and the identification of that watercourse as being a Gunkwit Brook. So we went there and we determined that that was not a Gunkwit Brook, and that the resource protection zone setbacks that would have wiped out 2 or 3 of these lots, making it a 3 or 4 lot subdivision, not a 5 lot subdivision, did not apply. So we come full circle back to the conventional subdivision being valid in terms of lot development. And so the logic of going to cluster, in my mind, returns to where we were in December. But if the board's thinking has not gone the same way, then I think we, if we were to complete a vote tonight and have a tie vote without a full board, the motion does not pass and would have to be, they'd be left with a conventional subdivision. We would be left with a conventional subdivision, we, the town of South Berwick, which in my view is not preferable. And it's not preferable from the perspective of the town of South Berwick. And I presume that the developer would have it not preferable as well, but that's not the reason why I would suggest we go that direction. So then that locks us into a situation. We don't have a second to the motion.
Here's my thing, Bill. Like, if I need to reconsider my last second, then I will. But my concern is, I see the work being done, and I see that they're checking off the boxes. So that's why I made my second. I don't think this falls in line with our comprehensive plan. And so that's where my hang up is.
Is there a specific part of the comprehensive plan that I can address? I mean, if I need to come back again, I really need to know how I need to change these plans.
I know what you mean, Brian. I feel like, for me, I think that the size of it, if it were fewer houses, honestly, is my biggest hang up.
Is there
I
a
think
part of
it's
the comprehensive plan that says that? I read it, I had trouble. It lays out specific low density housing, all of the requirements which we're meeting. You know, the cluster preserves more of the environment, which I felt like was in line with the cluster plan. I mean, the conventional plan.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I had it
So
in my mind.
let me ask this about the comprehensive plan and this development. So if my understanding is correct, you don't feel that the conventional plan meets the comprehensive plan, and you also don't feel as if the cluster.
I feel as though the cluster is closer, Manly. Yeah.
So I think that's what we've got to work with. It is that it is closer. I've let my feelings be known in the past that I would think, with nobody appreciated what I had to say, that they'd be better off go buy another piece of land. But they're meeting, checking off all the boxes, and they're doing what they're supposed to do as far as trying to convince us that they are meeting our requirements. And even if I don't like something, if they meet our requirements, I feel obligated to move forward, because what other type of order do you have?
Right, so I guess then maybe I screwed up the pot here by putting in my second for the comprehensive, not the comprehensive, the conventional. If I don't know how to undo that, Bill. If we need to reconsider my second on that, then that's what we need to do, because that's where my stance is. I don't have the details around everything right now for you right now, Brian. I'll get that. I'm trying to do that right now.
I'm not sure that I understand what you're saying. Do you think that the conventional meets a comprehensive plan?
I don't think that the project necessarily meets the comprehensive plan.
So
Yeah.
either way,
Right.
so I don't think, in my view, let's use the marijuana issue. I've actually asked not to be involved in those decisions because of my viewpoint, but I was told that I need to because I'm on a planning board. So I don't think it's fair to, because you want a particular result. Like
I'm going to
myself,
stop you there, Manley, because we are charged as a planning board to look at the comprehensive plan through all the projects. So that's not a decision that I'm making that I want to hold, that I want to like stick with. That's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be just looking at the ordinances. We should be looking at the comprehensive plan.
Well, okay, I'm gonna jump in here. The ordinances reflect the comprehensive plan, or they don't, depending on your point of view. The ordinances are what people are legally allowed to do. I think we're gonna table this topic for tonight. And Jeff, if you want to research how one reconsiders a motion, and you can do that with David, we could do that if you feel you need to do that. And we'll otherwise move forward with the cluster question at the next meeting. The full board.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
Pat Carroll from Providential Equity. I've been involved in every one of these meetings from day one, along with Brian and Atar Engineering. I felt all along the way that it was smooth sailing. We got sketch plan approval. All of a sudden, our butters came to view and expressed their concerns about the resource protection zone, all that. We've since gotten through that. It's been a very frustrating process, and we've now tonight we've again reversed course on something that was approved, and now someone wants to rescind their approval. I mean, I need some kind of a closure. I have definite interest in this project, and the time and expense is just it's running rampant, and I need some kind of idea of where we're going to be, you know, in the very, very near future.
Okay, appreciate that, Pat.
so in my viewpoint, the answer to the question is we don't know. We need a full board, and then we can answer that question. But I would like to point out to the people that are dissenting is I have no idea about the people that own this project, but I understand money, and they in good faith have put a lot of money into it, and it's going to be pretty hard for them to just walk away. And out of all the years that I've been on the board, we've never had anybody take us to court to debate that. And I hate to see it start here, but we've asked these people to spend a lot of money, and it's just not, in my view, fair play.
Okay, yeah, and I'll reiterate what I said. I feel like we were at a point and we had to reevaluate the conventional cluster, conventional subdivision based on the resource protection question. We did that. That's been resolved. So it seems to me we're back to the decision that we made in December. But if we can't establish that tonight, we won't. I don't think it's in anybody's interest to have a motion fail.
I'll weigh in one more time. I voted no to approve the traditional plan because I would like an independent review. That's all. That's all I want. And if somebody says it's fine, I'm fine. And then we can move
I
on.
think,
Describe.
I think Bill answered that question that the
No,
whole.
I want to ask Hershey a question. Describe to me what you think an independent review would involve that hasn't happened yet.
I just want somebody to put it into AutoCAD. I want to make sure all the acreage is correct and all the square footage is correct and if the setbacks are correct. I want somebody just to review it again.
That's been done.
So
By
think-
your engineer.
Yeah.
I think Bill has answered that, saying that he intends to have everything reviewed, not just the,
No, we're talking about the cluster if we get that far. So
well,
you,
I thought you
no,
said the whole thing would be reviewed.
no, we're talking about the final proposal only.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I mean, I understand where Hershey's coming from. And like I said, if this was the second or third meeting, I would have passed my drawing file off to someone to have it reviewed. But we've had this since December and the concept hasn't changed. And a peer review at this point, at a minimum, would take another month.
Hershey,
What's that?
I'll offer that I'm an engineer and I looked at this very carefully. I'm not going to put my PE stamp on a review, but I'm satisfied that the setbacks and the frontage and all that are meet the ordinance. I'll just state that as my opinion. There's nothing here that I look at plans all day long, and there's nothing here that suggests that there's the conclusions should be reversed. But that's my opinion.
So I would like to encourage the developer in this part. There's been a number of questions, even though it's been, I'm sure, frustrating, that have been answered going through this process about the Gunquit Brook. There's been a lot of good as far as showing your case. I don't know if there is a quick review that could happen before the next meeting. I think from what Hershey is saying, that would answer her question, and whether or not you want to incur that expense or not is your call, but that is one possible answer.
No, Manley, I appreciate that and your efforts and all that. It's just, it seems to be one thing after the next that we just can't seem to check off and move forward. Like I said, it's we get sketch plan approval, then it's rescinded, and we get another conventional plan that's approved, and then now we're looking at rescinding that. I need to progress in order to make this thing work.
Yeah.
And
Here's where we're at, Pat. We didn't get a second to move back to the cluster. There was a decision made in December. We're trying to get to the same decision now. We don't have a vote on that tonight. We can attempt to get a vote on that one way or other, up or down, at the next meeting. And I don't know what else to say.
what else do we need to provide to you people to make this happen? Right.
I think Hershey has told you.
Well, you got the opinion of one board member that she would like to have someone look over the drawings and make sure they're valid. That's not the opinion of the entire board.
Right, but I think if you're counting votes, that's one possibility that you have right there.
And I'll just say, I somewhat concur with Jeff that I am worried that somewhere along the line, our comp plan doesn't match our zoning code. And that's, Pat, that's not your problem, that's ours.
Well, I would
and
ask
I'm
you
not
to-
sure what to make of that.
Hershey, I would ask if that's your opinion, if you can be specific at the next meeting as to why this does not meet the comp plan. We need to be specific at this point. It's all vagaries, and we have an ordinance that allows development of land. And we've been around the barn a lot of times on this. If there's, I keep hearing the comp plan, the comp plan, the comp plan. That may be. If someone can show me where the comp plan does not allow a subdivision such as this, which meets the ordinance apparently, I would like to see that case laid out.
And my feeling exactly, if we're meeting all the ordinances, there should be no reason that we can't get approval on this project. So show me what we're lacking, and we're certainly provided. We've been very willing to provide any information that you people have asked for. It just seems like an endless circle of misinformation, and just give me a definitive list of what I can provide to you people, and we're happy to provide it. I just need to move forward.
I think one of the questions you asked is, why aren't you moving forward? And I think the answer to that is, one of the answers to that is, you've got a marginal piece of property that you want to develop, so it presents a lot of issues. And I agree that you're meeting those issues, but I think that's the reason it's taken so long. If it didn't have all of these marginal issues, we wouldn't have had to spend as much time on it.
Okay, I'm going to bring this to a conclusion. We boxed ourselves in. We don't have a second on the motion. So we're going to have to take it up another time, and people can do what they want to do between now and then.
So what can we provide at the next meeting that would satisfy everybody's appetite?
I'm not sure. We have to see what the vote is.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate you walking us through the process.
Okay.
So is this being tabled, and do we have a motion to table, or?
It is being tabled. I think we need a motion to table.
I make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
All in favor? I'll take the roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Hershey?
Aye.
Manley?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. We're stuck there. Okay.
Thank you all for taking the time.
Okay. All right, let's take a deep breath and do our last.
Frustrated as I am, I do appreciate the due diligence. Since I do live right nearby, it's nice to know that we have a board that really takes it through. So,
right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a deep breath. And does anybody need a biology break here before we take on our last issue? Seeing none?
I just had dinner. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have the subdivision, two subdivisions actually related, called the Meadow Woods East and West off of Mountain Road in South Berwick. We have someone from the applicant here to present that. And who's this? Who's speaking?
Sorry, I was muted. Dana Libby from Corner Post Land Surveying.
All right, welcome, Dana. Thank you.
Good evening. I've screen shared the plan. Is everybody seeing that?
Yep.
I am.
Okay, would you like me to?
Yeah, just walk us through the proposal at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I say that and then I pull you back. David, where are we with this? Is this the first hearing of this project, or is this a second hearing of this project?
Yeah, we had the first hearing for this project September 23rd. And so that was a sketch plan review. At that meeting, I believe, you were absent.
Yes.
And the other members were all present. We looked at, this is a sketch plan review, kind of similar to the first project we talked about this evening. Pretty darn detailed sketch plan review. some issues were brought up, excuse me, back in September. Really, it was working on, does the site meet the ordinance? There was a couple of standards in there, and I did send out my staff report, and Dana Libby actually sent some revised plans sort of addressing some of those concerns, so we can go through as it is. The subdivision is divided by Mountain Road. It's a 6-lot subdivision. When we originally started talking about it, there are, if you look on the north side, Meadowbrook East, Meadow Woods East, sorry, too many meadows in different projects. But there is a couple of lots that are actually showing on here, and there was the lot that is illustrated right next to the York town line. It says Alex N. Cunningham, which it's the far right. Thank you very much. So that lot there, that was split off from the original lot. So that was included as part of the review. The applicant also owns 50% on the other side of the subdivision, on the same side of the road. The lot that was also under some control. So it's a 6-lot subdivision. We wanted to break it up because of the roadway. Originally, the application came in, Mountain Road was shown as it is on the current plans. I believe it was Perry talked about the ownership of those lots may be to the center line of the road. From what I understand, the town repaved the road up to the town line. And right now, so we would look at a subdivision, 6 lots, and when we get them recorded, I was going to record the documents showing both sides of the road and independently the east and west side of the road as recorded documents at the same time.
David, you say it was, and I was not here on that 23rd of September. It was a 7-lot subdivision. And what changed to make it a 6-lot subdivision?
No. It's always been a 6-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
But the 2 lots on either side of east, sorry, I have to keep looking down. And those 2 lots are, the first one is in the Wellness Agamengas LLC. That the applicant has 50% ownership in, if I'm correct, Dana. If I'm not, shake your head no. And then the other lot on the far end, the Cunningham lot, that was the first sale. So we showed it on the lot. So, there's 6 remaining lots, but that 7th lot was part of the land initially.
Okay. So that was divided off, and now that it's subdividing the rest. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So this subdivision doesn't actually abut York then, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is that you come back and sorry to be confusing here. So we knocked you off your stride, Dana. Please proceed.
Okay, the major delay in getting this back to you was we sent this off to Inland Fisheries for some consultation with them. They wanted to view the site. It took me 3 months to get somebody to come view the site. Then once it was viewed, it took another couple months to get some feedback from the department. So the department has seen all these plans, and we've basically limited the development. Well, let's step back here a little bit. The reason they're involved is these 2 vernal pools and the setbacks from them. When Fish and Wildlife reviewed the plans, they included this wetland that had a Blandings turtle sighting as part of the setback requirements. So that threw the 250 feet out to this blue solid line all around the project as the buffers, the 250-foot buffer from the vernal pools. DEP does allow development within the buffer up to 25%. So we propose to Fish and Wildlife, these development areas, which this development area on lot 1 is a little over 21,000 square feet. The development area on lot 1C is a little over 25,000 square feet. And on 1B, a little over almost 28,000 square feet. The total percentage of the buffer is development of 8.3% of the overall buffer. So DEP's reviewed these, Inland Fisheries reviewed these plans and approved this concept, as long as we put restrictions on the lots, the remaining lots within this 250-foot buffer, which is this dark green area. So they sent us.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure who it is, but if you're not speaking officially, please mute yourself. Thank you. Sorry, Dana.
Yeah, no problem. Inland Fisheries sent us their restriction requirements, and that is note 24 verbatim from what they sent us. On note 15, in their email with us, they asked that the development areas not be developed, that they are developed during the winter months, so that there's no disturbance of the habitat. So in David's review, and I totally forgot about it, the 50-foot buffer along the road, I was paying more attention to all the other buffers that we have on these lots. I've added that 50-foot buffer across the frontage of all the lots. And some of the septic systems were within that buffer, so we've moved them out. We now have that buffer, and I've actually added a note to the plan that 27, it actually is verbatim of your requirements per zoning of that buffer.
Okay.
So what the landowners can and can't do within that buffer.
So Dana, the out sale, when was the date of that?
I'm gonna say that was like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
It originally went out to Patco Construction.
So it went out a year and a half ago then.
Let me make sure I'm not speaking out of turn here. So it went out in June of 2020.
Okay, I just was wondering if it's been over 5 years.
Oh, no.
No, okay.
So that lot has to be considered as to whether there's been whether there's a subdivision that's taken place, and obviously that is the case here. I don't know how you want to handle this. Do you want me just to go off to the other side so that you get the big picture, or?
That would be, yeah. And the different subdivisions are because they're on opposite sides of the road, as I understand.
That's correct.
Yeah, because of all the setbacks and the species habitats and things like that, it makes sense to look at it as it's a common development, so it makes sense to view it as such. You'd be kind of looking at a spotted turtle or one of the turtles or what have you across the road and wondering why it's impacting the lots to the south side. West side.
Yep. So the west side is obviously a little less complicated. There are some wetlands here. The 250-foot buffer does clip the corner of 5B. But other than that, this 2 conventional lots with standard development. Once again, added the 50-foot buffer, moved the septics outside of the buffer, and added that note that outlines the requirements of the buffer. So one thing I did want to make a comment on the east side. Is part of Inland Fisheries requirement is that we actually monument and mark these development areas, which we've done. We've set irons, we've actually painted the lines so that any future landowner or any buyer is going to clearly understand what they're buying when they see this lot. So anything outside of this development area, there is highly restricted as far as cutting, disturbance, etc., to preserve the habitat for the Blandings turtle. There's only, the Blandings turtle is the only turtle really that's being protected here. The spotted turtle is threatened. And the ribbon snake was, it's a potential habitat for that snake, but the Blandings turtle is endangered, and that's what the habitat's there for.
Dana, I gotta say, I've never seen a subdivision plan with pictures of turtles on it before. That's great. And they're nice pictures.
Well, it's nice to know that, you know, I didn't really know what they look like myself, so.
I learned something when I reviewed all this yesterday.
So I guess that's pretty much it in a nutshell, and willing to take any questions.
So Dana, are you looking for any official action from us this evening?
Yes, to accept the application as complete and set the public hearing. So I just back up a little bit. At the sketch plan, the board asked us to notify all the abutters. We notified all the abutters with a letter and a copy of the plans that we submitted for sketch, which was basically a one plan all showing all 6 lots.
Right.
Thank you very much for doing that.
I have one question.
Yep.
This, I guess, I haven't been up there in a year or so. I used to go up there more often. I used to go hiking off the mountain road down to the pond that's down there. The town has paved this to the town line?
Yes, they've paved it and to a turnaround at the town line.
When did that happen?
Last summer.
Okay, no wonder I haven't seen it. Okay, and because the Google Earth thing, I still had the sign that said the road's not maintained. Does the town maintain that to the town line now?
Yes.
In the winter, it's plowed and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
There's houses, there's a house constructed here on this Cunningham lot.
Okay, all right. So, okay, that's news to me. That's great. Okay. And also, have utilities been extended down there?
Yes, they've been extended to this last house.
Okay, I'm all set. Any questions of the other board?
Yeah, I just have one. I also like the turtle pictures and the snake. Thank you very much for that. I think that's great. We have a turtle living out back ourselves. So my question is, aside from telling your buyers that, and these markers that you've set up, is there any other way you can memorialize sort of this, the non-developable zone? Can it be written into the deed?
Yes, it's included with the deeds.
It is, great,
Yes,
okay.
and we supplied the language in the application package, which is basically a verbatim of note 24.
Great, thank you, that's great. All right, and in 10 years, you're gonna go up and make sure they stuck to their deed, right? Because somebody's gonna enforce it, right? Okay, all right.
Well,
I'm
that's,
good.
you know, the enforcement's probably gonna come from the state.
That would be good. Does the fisheries come back and look at it, inland fisheries?
My guess is no, they won't come back specifically to come look at it. I will be sending them a copy of the plan if this thing progresses forward, just so that they can see what we've done, because they haven't seen this plan with a note. They have, like I said, they have seen it with the development areas, but I am going to want them to review the plan that you guys will end up approving.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, the level of detail that you've had to go through here is impressive.
Yes, I don't know of any other surveyor that does such a nice job as far as all the different color coding of everything, so it makes it very easy to understand.
David Galbraith, do you have anything to add?
Okay, wanted to make sure that I was not muted. No, really, at this stage, I tried to explain it out in the staff report, but I just wanted to stress to Dana, or make sure that Dana's and I are simpatico on this. So when we have the plans that are going through the review, Dana, can you also include single sheets of the west side and the east side for recording documents too? Because
Well,
they're gonna.
They are set up, and we've asked for
Yeah.
a waiver from the board so that we can prepare these plans at this scale, which is 1 inch equals 100 feet.
Right.
They are separate plans to be recorded.
Okay. Good.
Now, on the waivers, we deal with that down the line here, right? We don't have to do that now.
My guess is it would be at the next meeting
Right, I think so. Yeah.
after you've, once you've accepted the application is complete, and either before or after the public hearing.
Okay, if there's no other questions of Dana, I'll.
I have a question. I
Okay,
have a question. Dana, do you live in South Berwick?
No, I do not.
Oh, I was gonna ask you to join the planning board. Okay, never mind.
You're in Springvale, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I passed your office the other day.
Ah, no kidding.
I got my second COVID shot up at the Walgreens there and drove back. I said,
Oh, yeah.
Is that sign? So,
I'd like to make a motion that we've got a complete application.
and that we accept it as complete. Okay, I'll take a second.
A second?
Moved by Manley and seconded by Hershey. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Hershey,
Hi.
Manley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So, okay, it's passes.
Hey,
Right,
can I
so-
suggest one more thing? Can I say one more thing? Hey, Dana, I don't know about the name, Meadowswood, it's very confusing. I think you should name it like Turtle, like something. Turtle Home East and Turtle Home West,
Well,
or,
it's a little combination.
Snakeville.
It's a little combination of the wetlands and the woods. That's why it's named that.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. All right. Well, it's your prerogative as the developer.
So can we set
the-
this up for a public hearing?
Well, yeah, that's the question. With Joe's not here, if, can we set it up for the 2 weeks from tonight? How does that work, Amy? Where's Amy? You have to get the notices out.
I think you muted Amy.
Yeah, I'm seeing your face, but you're muted. Here she comes.
Hi, yes, yep, we can have it next week,
Okay, so 2 weeks from tonight, right?
or, yeah, the next meeting.
Okay, so that we can get the notices out be prior to that. So, okay.
I'll get it out tomorrow.
Excuse me, Bill?
Yeah.
Someone, and I'll look at the chats, someone was asking the question.
Yeah, I saw that and I'll deal with that. with my-
Okay, thank you. I just didn't want to miss it.
So let's have another motion to set the public hearing for 2 weeks from tonight, which is what date? 7th plus,
The
21st.
21st.
okay. Motion to set the public hearing at that date?
Yeah, I'll motion to set the
Okay,
public hearing.
I'll second.
moved by Jeff, seconded by Hershey. All in favor, raise your hand. I see 4 hands.
Aye.
Good. Okay, great. So that business is done. Okay, well, if nothing else on this, appreciate it, Dana, and glad to meet you tonight.
Yes, same here. Thank you very much for your help, and everybody have a good night.
Okay. Hang on a second. I'm gonna be right back at you. Agenda. Yeah, so you can unshare his screen somehow. Okay.
Dana, you still there?
Yeah, there we go. I'm working at it.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so as I said at the outset, we are waiting for some important input from the town attorney through the town council regarding the marijuana issue. So we're not going to have that discussion tonight. And I realize that was late breaking news and inconvenient to some of you, but that's the best way to go. With that, I'll go to member comments. A gentleman put a chat up a few minutes ago. I'm not sure who it was, asking about.
It was Dan T.
All right, Dan T. I see his face. there's if you go to the website, Dan, the Southborough website, if you go to the planning department page, there's an application form for planning board membership. And what you do is you look at that, consider that, and you make application to the town council with your interest. And the town council selects the planning board members. We don't select, we encourage certain people to, there you go. All right.
Did you see that?
I do. Where, let's find
That is under planning department.
But where's the section on planning board applications?
Can you see this right here?
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Good.
Yeah. So all you need to do is go into the planning department, and when it if you go down and it's where we keep all the meeting date submissions, what have you, if you click on that, it will. There's like a one-page application.
That's right. And so there's a 5-member board, which we barely have 5 members now. And there's 2 alternate spots. And we'd be delighted to fill one or both of those spots. Being an alternate to the planning board, you participate in every single discussion as though you're a full member. But you don't vote unless you're taking someone's slot who is absent. Like tonight, for example, we have a member absent, and if someone was to be an alternate, they would have voted tonight. So I started the planning board along 2008 as an alternate, and it was meaningful from day one. And so it's not as though you're taking a back seat. You're involved in every discussion. You can talk about everything, and you vote when you can. And so that I encourage your interest and anybody else's. We'd love to have a full board. So thank you. Okay. Any other member comments tonight? Everybody's exhausted, I know. Okay. It's tough work we do, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone's earnest points of view. It got a little intense there, but that's only because we're trying to do the right thing. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts. Yes, Hershey.
I'm wondering if we could at some point take a better look at the comp plan versus the
Yes, and
ordinance.
you've been suggesting that for months. And
over a year, I think, but that's okay. And it wasn't you. I think it sort of stalled off with Jack, maybe not to throw him under the bus, but
I think we should put that on the agenda. We should understand the relationship between the comp plan and the ordinance and understand that better. That can only be a good thing. I think we probably have a full plate until we get these marijuana issues off, but that'll be soon. And then we could take up that. That'd be my opinion. You've been raising it since the beginning, Hershey, and you're absolutely right.
It's it just, yeah.
Okay.
And I hope everyone who's here on now will be part of that process. That would be good.
Okay, Jeff, you got anything tonight?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Manley, you're up.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay. Moved by Manley, seconded by Jeff. Everybody raise your hand if we can adjourn. We have 4 votes. Very good. Thank you very much, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Thank you, Bill.
Good night, guys.
Well done.